Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. In the previous video, two videos, I split this thing apart, tried to put it back together, failure to chooch. There are some clues to this mystery wrapped in an enigma, and that's the same with any kind of troubleshooting scenario. There's always some clues, and you just got to follow the breadcrumbs till it leads you to the last thing you check, and the last thing you check is always what fixes the problem. Funny how that works. So we've determined the control sequence. I didn't explicitly say what it was, but basically you insmert the battery, yeah? You put in, there's a contact here, so you put in the staples, or the brads, and then you pull this safety trigger, then you pull this safety trigger, put it on the workpiece, and it actuates this little micro switch, then it fires. So if any of those are out of sequence or don't change states, like for instance, if this is actuated and you pull the trigger, it doesn't fire. It needs to see a change of state. Now we know the electric side is working because we can hear the motor run, and there is a contact, there's a snap when the piston moves. Now whether or not that snap is actually hitting the brad nail or if it's just hitting the detent at the back, I don't know, but the electrical side seems to be working. However, it tries to fire once, twice, thrice, and then blinky blinky, it senses an error or a jam or something, doesn't like what's going on. Okay, so there's our clues. So thinking about that and remembering our 3 rules of troubleshooting, right? Easiest thing first, never trust the work before you. If you have to come in after the fact and fix something that someone else wasn't able to fix, there's a loss of face involved there. So he might not be 100% with the procedure that he did. He might add on like, oh yeah, I totally checked that, but not checked it, because people are very vain, right? In any case, that's not a worry here. And the 3rd rule of troubleshooting, I can't remember, but it'll come to me. So I have a feeling, right now we check the easiest thing first. The easiest thing is to jam this apart. I have a feeling that when I counted the rotations of the gearbox, there's no way for this thing to locate. It doesn't know where it is except for the Hall effect sensors in there on that magnet. So if it's not in the right location in the sequence, I'm not sure that it has a 0 position that it will go back to. So what I'm going to do is just pull this apart real quick. And because I put a mark with the Sharpie on there, we'll be able to see the position of that crank, and then we'll see if it's zeroed or not. And even if that is not the case, we still have to split it apart, because the next easiest thing is I messed up one of those O-rings on the way in, and it's jammed up right solid. Actually, come to think of it, the easiest thing first is to try and unseat this actuator and see if it moves. There we go. Okay. So that's happy, it's moving. Troubleshooting is a process. We're following clues to a mystery that we don't know the answer to. And if it were easy, somebody else would have already done it. You know, if it didn't suck, somebody else would have already done it. So this is how I make my bread and butter, not fixing tools, but fixing complicated technical problems. And the process is the same whether you got a $200 part here on the workbench, or you got a $2 million piece of gear. It's exactly the same process. Unfortunately, we cannot see where that crank is located. However, we can see the magnets through this aluminum enclosure. That brings up another point. Now you have a strong magnet that's moving very quickly in a conductor. There's going to be some back EMF, or some counter EMF there, and it's going to produce eddy currents, electrical eddy currents in here. So that's kind of a weird system that it would be enclosed in a conductor, but that's what they designed. It's just an interesting little thing. Okay, so we're going to get our magnetic X-ray vision out, a little doodad, a place for everything and everything in its place, cheesecloth, resist-orbs, magnetic film viewing thing. I guess it's an overcomplicated thing. magnetic viewing film. The magnet is over here, over the second Hall effect sensor. The first one's here. Okay, if this is in the stop position, you would assume that it would be over in this position. It would fire past here and come back. Alright, this is pretty telling, very interesting. Now, you don't want to jump to conclusions all the time, but you do have to follow the clues. In order to do that, you kind of got to put together, hypothesize in your head, and then prove them or disprove them. Here's the magnet, yeah? And there's the Hall effect sensor, uno, dos. So, why would this pistone be in this position when essentially not firing? So this is a very odd control system, one that doesn't allow it to synchronize back to the 0 position. Quite strange. So I'm thinking it got out of phase here because I dicked around with it, and now it's not signaling via these Hall effect sensors. Tries 2 or 3 times, doesn't chooch. Then the microcontroller says, no es bueno, something is wrong, and shuts it down. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the motor manuellement to try and get this sequenced. Now this is it's an odd system. It's not right actually, because it should be able to sequence itself. Like, what happens if this shakes around in the back of a truck and it gets out of phase? You know? It should have the capability of going to its home position on its own. Okay, we got there, Bicky Mud Baya, and now we're there. This is all the way back. I look in here and the line is in the correct position. And we'll button it back up, test it out again. Well, what do you think, gentle viewer? Will she chooch, or am I going to have to say, can't make a tool vid without busting some omelets? Let's check the currents in this pudding. Okay, here it goes. Oh, come on, man. Oh. No. What is going on? Maybe it just needs the Fonzarelli. Let's turn this, crank this fucker up. Seems to be quacking. Well, no idea. Gonna have to take her all apart again. We'll pull all those seals off. I must have chewed up a seal or something. No idea. This, I think, is the second tool that I messed up. So, you know, my track record's not bad. I had her up and down, and I clipped an O-ring on the way in. So, of course, finding a metric O-ring, it just about split my cunning linguals in two doing that. And then I don't have any silicone oil, or I don't have any silicone grease. So what I ended up using was shock oil for RC cars. You know, one of those deals, run what you brung. I don't know if it... I'm at a loss. So we'll see if that worked. Sometimes you take something apart, it's not working, it's just sticking. Take it apart, put it back together. It works. Just one of those things. Oh, for fuck's sake. So full auto still doesn't work. I don't know about this thing. Pretty chintzy. Okay, the verdict is in, folks. It's a piece of fucking garbage. Garbage. Junk. I had high hopes because it had some decent components, like some passable components. There was some real shit in there, the switches and stuff, but it would actually work. But no. Just a money grab. Doesn't work for shit. Well, thanks a lot for watching. Keep your dick in a vice. Squints on here. We're gonna give her what for? Friggin' wood. Oh, she's chooching. Choochie. Walking pretty good. Wow. Skeezy.